Ooh.
No, I'm wearing my bitches hat.
Wow.
Oh, right.
I rode my broom over, so
Why
that's
is
all I've
this
got.
week any different than?
Oh man, right, exactly.
And speaking of witches, how are you, Ty?
Oh, piss off, Al.
Well, we're going to have an interesting show here.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, we begin by queering up breaking news. Admiral Dr. Rachel Levine gets emotional in discussion of her role in LGBTQ history during a White House interview with Queer News Tonight, part 4 of 4. This evening, Queer News Tonight brings you Admiral Dr. Rachel Levine. She is America's first 4-star trans admiral and the first trans Senate confirmed cabinet member. Tonight, Levine talks about the LGBTQ plus community, and this is the final part of my extensive interview of this fragile moment for her, the trans community, and our entire LGBTQ community. She talks about the history of these moments we are living, and I discuss with her about the lens of history needed in becoming an icon in our community, including Bayard Rustin for civil rights, Sylvia Rivera for Stonewall, Harvey Milk for politics, and then I ask her how she feels history will judge her as an addition to that icon status. You get to watch her emotional response by her standards. Actually, watch this.
Well, I think that our community is always stronger when we stand together against the challenges that we face. And so, again, being a positive and optimistic person, I think that the trans community certainly welcomes the support of everyone in our rainbow family, so to speak. And I think that we can and will stand together.
Yeah. I also want to ask you about the broad community support for our community. There's been so much said and discussed in the last number of weeks about the Dave Chappelle special at Netflix and trans-related issues and LGBTQ-related issues. Any thoughts about what you've watched in America's discussion in the community and out of the community on Dave Chappelle?
I'm not really going to comment on that, but I think it's very important to understand the progress that our LGBTQI plus community has made, but that we have to make progress for everyone, including the most vulnerable in our community. I had mentioned that LGBTQI plus youth, particularly trans youth, are vulnerable. Seniors in our community are vulnerable. Immigrants in our community are vulnerable. And really, in many ways, the most vulnerable are LGBTQI plus individuals of color. And, you know, trans women of color, for example, are at risk not just of harassment or discrimination, but they are at risk of violence and murder. So we have to stand together. We have to work together to consolidate and then continue the progress that we have made for everyone in our rainbow family.
You know, very well said, thank you. One of the last thing that I want to mention to you is we've been through the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, 50, 60 years of progress in America for the LGBTQI plus community. We talk about icons that push our community forward. I think of Bayard Rustin in the March on Washington and civil rights in the 60s. I think about Sylvia Rivera in 1969 at Stonewall. I think of Harvey Milk and his political advocacy in San Francisco in 1978. The judge of time and iconic and history is judged over the lens of having some time removed to examine. What is your reaction in the names that I just used of Rustin and Riviera and Milk, that in the course of history, one of the names that's going to be added to that list is going to be Rachel Levine?
Well, that is just an honor for you to mention my name in the context of of those heroes of the LGBTQI plus community. I realize that I stand on the shoulders of those who came before me in terms of the progress that we have made. Many of those are people, like you've mentioned, that we know their names. There are also so many names that we don't know, because they had to live and to work in the shadows. So I know that I will do everything I can to advocate for everyone in our LGBTQI plus community broadly. And I feel that that is my role and my legacy.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think the lens of history is going to conclude exactly what I have just set up. Last moments of opportunity. What's next for us? What do you want to see from the community next?
Well, I think that that we need to continue our work. We cannot get discouraged. We have to continue to work together, and again, to work with an administration that and a president that sees us, that recognizes us, and that supports us.
Heard loud and clear. I thank you very much. To be honest with you, long advocacy in our community, I do not think I ever considered that I would have the opportunity to speak to somebody, the first trans person. Forgive me for continuing to provide that label and your name confirmed by the Senate. It's been quite a pleasure. And history, we are watching you closely. We're cheering you behind the scenes loudly. And Admiral Rachel Levine, 4-star Admiral, we thank you very much for being with us tonight here at Queer News Tonight.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
I encourage you to watch all 4 parts of this special interview with Dr. Admiral Rachel Levine.
Wow.
Come on, Rachel.
Amazing, yeah, powerful. I can see her making a difference, having such a important and public role in this country. Bravo.
And I got choked up too. I mean, you saw that, and it's the icon label is well deserved, well earned, absolutely.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think we would ever see somebody in this representation at this high of a level. We're there early. I think the train arrived at the station early, thanks to Obama in 2008 to 16, and certainly now Biden and Harris.
Well, and again, a little plug for Pennsylvania. She's a Pennsylvania girl. I'm a Pennsylvania boy.
Yeah, I heard her voice.
Governor of Pennsylvania for supporting her entirely through the whole pandemic. That's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. You have to go back and watch all of the segments. She addresses the confirmation hearing, 52-48, 2 Republicans, 100% of the Democrats, only 2 Republicans. But that was enough to be bipartisan, and that gets it into into the history books. Yeah. And she talks about the community, and we're going to do one of the stories tonight that is so centric in our own community. We talk about Tori Cooper's comments, the first trans woman of color in a White House committee, the HIV committee, saying absolutely the L and the G and the B and the Q of our community do not support the T. She is emphatic on it. And Rachel Levine's comments about that. It's a very interesting insight. And it's very hard, by the way, for LGBT, because Admiral Levine is very reserved, not very political at all, doesn't want to mix her health advocacy with the political world that is going on. So
she shot down your Chappelle reference.
I just batted it down completely.
I was thinking maybe she doesn't even know who he is.
She definitely knows who she is. She just didn't want to comment on it, and that was it. Yeah. Well, make sure you watch it. It's quite interesting. And we welcome you to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It is 8 p.m. Thursday, November 4th, 2021. And we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you're going to see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the partnership between Happening Out Television Network and Hotspots Magazine. Hotspots is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and we bring you the best of LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our community.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's begin by welcoming anchor Gregg Shapiro, a 1999 inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 2 short story collections and 5 books of poetry. As an entertainment journalist, he has celebrity interviews and music reviews that run in a variety of regional LGBTQ plus and mainstream publications and websites. And his screensaver movie review column can be found in South Florida Gay News, San Francisco's Bay Area Reporter, RottenTomatoes.com, and more. Good evening, Gregg.
Greetings, Earthlings. Let's welcome anchor Cindy Brown. She is an icon in the LGBTQ plus community. She was an early organizer of Miami AIDS Walk, the White Party for Care resource, and other major events. She has served as the executive director of Miami-Dade Gay and Lesbian Chamber Foundation and LGBTQ Visitor Center. She is the founding executive director of Miami Beach Pride and currently serves as the program manager for Jewish Community Services LGBTQ Lambda Living program for LGBT seniors. Good evening, Cindy.
Good evening, aliens. Now let's welcome anchor Marisol Marrero, a homegrown Garden State girl who was fascinated with MTV and radio at an early age. Marisol's early exposure led her to the entertainment industry. Currently, she has been a local DJ for the LGBTQ community of South Florida for over 20 years. Good evening, Marisol.
Greetings, my friends. Thank you so much for having me. Let's welcome anchor Dr. Tai Houser. He's an associate professor of English and humanities at Broward College. Additionally, he teaches for extended periods of time at international colleges in China, India, Spain, and Bolivia. Good evening, Tai.
Good evening, people.
Aliens who work.
We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, November 4th.
Let's queer up politics. Senate confirms Beth Robinson as the first out LGBTQ plus woman to serve on a federal appeals court. Beth Robinson, a Vermont Supreme Court judge who served as co-counsel in the country's first case to establish that LGBTQ plus couples deserve the same legal protections afforded to straight married couples, was confirmed by a 51-45 Senate vote on Monday as President Joe Biden's nominee to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Robinson is the first out LGBTQ plus woman to serve on a federal appeals court following the appointment of Judge Todd Michael Hughes in 2013, the first LGBTQ plus person to hold such a position. Experts say that her confirmation is a historic moment that should be celebrated, but it also signals that much more LGBTQ plus representation is needed in the country's federal judiciary, as there are 179 judgeships in the federal appeals court.
Well, this is good news. I mean, judges can make a lot of difference in how laws are enforced. So the more, the better, I would say.
And it's good news to follow up on Dr. Levine as well, right? We've
Exactly.
got more influence happening in politics in the judiciary.
And we say it all the time that representation is essential, is necessary, and this is a great example and definitely to be celebrated.
And on the appeals court specifically, which means she has the power to potentially overturn horrible, racist, homophobic.
Texas laws.
Yeah, exactly.
What a fantastic, and I apologize, what a fantastic opportunity to continue the education of the culture, all the multifaceted things that make up this specific community. The more that we continue to educate everyone in the world, the better opportunities we have to grow and to move forward in a positive motion.
You know, the story completely aggravates the crap out of me. And the reason it does is because it's an illustration in the LGBTQ community that frequently many of us are asleep at the switch. We think that we got gay marriage in 15 and everything is all fine. But this is really the heart and soul of the trenches of the war that we are involved in, and it is our courts. When you, to all respect to Judge Robinson, and we're thrilled for you, by the way, we are really thrilled. It is an aggravating experience to listen to this story because first, there's 179 judges, federal judges in this circuit, and only 2 of them are LGBT. Come on. Representation. What is this, 1968? And we're talking about Black or African American federal judiciaries. It's the exact same thing. The number is so incredibly small, it is unbelievable. Look at the vote here. 100 senators vote, and the vote was 51 to 45. Can't you imagine what was the standard of justification of the 45 that this Supreme Court justice in Vermont was not qualified? Come on, that's ridiculous. And that means she got 1 Republican vote. They're telegraphing you their playbook. We're going to destroy the majority voice in the LGBTQ community, in the African American community, in the Latino community, and other marginalized groups in America. And the way we're going to do it is because we're going to lose the federal elections by 4, 5, 6 million votes, how we'll get back at you is through the courts. And this is the proof of it. 45 people voted against her qualifications. And the worst, most egregious moment of this is that 4 senators didn't even bother to vote.
It's very
It's an infuriating story.
Right. Well, now let's queer up gay culture. And this story speaks directly to what Al was just saying. Federal judge rules an employer can say religious beliefs to fire LGBTQ plus employees. Because everything is bigger in Texas, including the bigots. A federal judge in Texas has just ruled that businesses that say they're religious, as well as churches, can fire LGBTQ plus people, chipping away at the protections granted by the Supreme Court's decision in Bostick versus Clayton County last year. The case was brought by longtime anti-LGBTQ activist Stephen Holt's management firm, Braidwood, which he said was a Christian management firm. In the lawsuit, Holt said he, quote, does not allow Braidwood to hire or employ individuals who are known to engage in sexually immoral behavior or gender nonconforming conduct of any sort, including homosexuality, cross-dressing, and transgenderism. This is why we need more LGBTQ plus judges
and women and
Latino.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Texas.
Right.
I mean, this is just a lot of attention being paid on there paid there for these horrible events. It's unbelievable.
So I'm going to make a little bit of a stretch here, but I think it's a reasonable stretch. We're constantly in negotiations with administration about our employment at the college, and they constantly are wanting us to give more and more and more, to the point where it almost feels at times like I'm losing my personal life or my personal identity to this institution, right? And I love the institution, and I love the people I work with, but this is another way, and the story is another way in which corporations, in which businesses, in which employers feel that they need to get themselves into your personal life and take it away from you. Right. That they want you 24/7 to be their employee and not to have your own identity.
You know, my blood apparently today is continuing to boil because I listened to this story, and again, the conservative America is displaying their playbook.
Right.
Bostock was decided by the majority of a conservative Supreme Court. You got 3 appointments from Donald Trump onto that court, and they ruled Bostock the way that they ruled Bostock, that it was an extension of a federal law and mandate that says you can't discriminate. That's not enough for a federal district judge in Texas to go, all you have to do is sneeze, religion, and therefore you can discriminate. That's not what the Supreme Court ruled, and this decision of the federal court will very likely be appealed, and it'll get to the Supreme Court, and we will see. But cross it with the arguments we've heard this week on abortion from, oh, by the way, Texas. Where the argument is in front of the U.S. Solicitor General says, court, if you allow Texas to make this decision to say we can pass laws in Texas that will preempt the Supreme Court's ability to decide on it, what is going to be next?
Right.
This case is an example of it. You ruled on Bostock, and this federal judge in Texas says, I don't care what the Supreme Court said. If you sneeze religion, we can exempt it.
Wow.
Where is this going to end? And this is the playbook. And LGBTQ America, why is your blood not boiling? We lost Virginia on Tuesday. And this is going to be the outcome 12 months from now if we do not come together and unite to fight this.
Exactly.
Agreed. Well, let's go ahead and move on, and we're going to queer up the world. Lesbian adult film star Lily Cade calls for violence against trans women. Recently, Queer News Tonight reported on the trending hashtag #SistWithThe that blew up after a lesbian adult performer spoke out against trans women in porn in a BBC report. Now that performer, Lily Cade, has doubled down on her anti-trans rhetoric. On a recently deleted blog post on her website, she posted, and I quote, please be advised, this is a somewhat graphic, what I am about to deliver. Trans women are men. A lifetime commitment to pharmaceuticals and plastic surgery does not change sex of an animal. They came for the lesbians, and you did nothing. This discourse is holding down your daughters and degrading your sons. You stand by while mentally ill boys are encouraged to dominate your daughters in sports. You stand by while your children's teachers use them as cum rags for Judith Butler's sloppy seconds and encourage them to mutilate their bodies and make that lifetime commitment behind your backs. Your worst self is a mincing, panty-wearing pussy of a man. I deserve no pity. I ask no forgiveness. I pity no man, and I do not pity any of you. Where are your fucking balls, America? End quote. In another post, Cade discusses her thoughts on Admiral Dr. Rachel Levine, saying, end quote, Joe Biden put a pedophile monster in charge of Health and Human Services so that the process of trapping your children with that lifetime commitment to pharmaceuticals can be honed even further into the path of least resistance. Joe Biden knows that's a man, and he knows that's a pedophile, and he knows that's the agenda, end quote.
First of all, no one's coming for the lesbians. She's just ridiculous.
She's disgusting. I'm sorry.
She doesn't represent lesbians as far as I'm concerned.
No.
I know that she has tertiary syphilis, and this is the result. Her brain is gone.
Well, then there's that.
Well, that claim
I did not think I was going to laugh in this story.
That claim has
That's why
just
I'm
as
here.
much basis as most of what she's saying. I mean, she's pulling shit out of the air.
What do y'all think about, first, what do you think about to people that go, wait, you're highlighting such a minority point of view. Hundreds of thousands of people have weighed in the last week or so on this, the dueling hashtags of lesbian support versus cis and standing with the T support. Hundreds of thousands of people are arguing over this. This is not just her voice. There is many significant voices in the community that are preaching this idea. It's being suggested that lesbian women, in the example that she suggests, her reference is that they're being attacked by trans women. And it is an attack on them physically. But there's hundreds of thousands of people participating in this conversation. What do you think of the division that is being created by this in our own community?
I'm thoroughly disturbed.
Yeah, and it's
Really.
I know some lesbians who feel that trans women are trying to erase lesbians or they want to kill lesbians, and it's ridiculous. And
what is the fear?
I don't understand.
I
don't
obviously
really
not sitting in
understand.
either of these two component labels of our lexicon. What's behind it? How is this, and why is this developed?
I think that part of it stems from the fact that I believe trans women are women, but trans women, especially those that transition in adulthood, don't have the same experiences as young girls and young women have existing in the world. But, you know, I still don't buy into this hateful rhetoric. You know, that may be true, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're men. And I can't stand it when lesbians say, no, that's a man. No, it's a woman.
Well, and as we were saying, we've seen the damage of that. We saw what happened at the Michigan Women's Music Festival. This is not new. This has been going on for a long time. But I also think that trans visibility has certainly increased since that time, since Michigan. And you know what? The more visible you are, the bigger target you are also.
You know, I just dawned to me, one of the segments that we broadcast this week on on Admiral Levine, forgive me, on Admiral Levine, and she specifically mentioned the issue of visibility rises and the response of that representation. It is going to have a natural backlash. The more visible you become in the community, that was the true for gay men in the 90s and the response of the first Bush term in 2000 and Obama and a response to Obama to African American in America. That's really interesting because Dr. Levine, Admiral Levine, made that exact point. And also, I ask you from the standpoint of gay men that come out late. Older gay men that come out in their 50s or 60s have generally been married. They have children, and their experience as a gay man is completely different than those that were teenagers or in their early 20s coming out. We don't hold that against them. Why would we hold that against the trans community?
And we don't hold it against women who've been married to men and have children. We don't hold that against them either. I just think it is, you know, an unfounded fear that somehow got, you know, beaten into them somehow. But I thankfully, I have never felt that way at all, ever.
Well, the best way to defeat this kind of ideology that is espoused is exactly what we're doing right here. Let's talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. Get it on the table, hash it out. That's the way to do it. And then...
And now for something completely different. Let's queer up entertainment. RuPaul is making a drag holiday movie. Really?
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, well, you need the money. Sorry, Grinch. We all know Michelle Visage hates green, so you're out this holiday season. And let's face it, nothing says Christmas like drag queens! Mama Ru and a cast of 20 RuPaul's Drag Race alumni are starring in VH1's The Bitch Who Stole Christmas. The plot? A workaholic big city fashion journalist is sent to a Christmas-obsessed small town to dig up a story when she finds herself in the middle of cutthroat housewives, a high-stakes winter ball competition, and a sinister plot that could destroy Christmas forever. Also featured in the film are RuPaul's Drag Race co-hosts Michelle Visage, Carson Kressley, and Ross Matthews, as well as musicians Kim Petras and Charo. Oh, and spoiler alert, the bitch stealing Christmas isn't Ru. It's Krista Rodriguez, who recently starred as Liza Minnelli in Halston.
Well, let's just hope it's better than AJ and the Queen.
How dare. Your gay card is suspended.
You're thinking it, and I'm saying it.
I just want to say that I'm sure it can't be any better than Hurricane Bianca.
And we really need lots more Christmas movies, that's for sure.
Well, that's true too.
I'm tuning in for Charo. That's it. I'm tuning in for Charo.
Yeah, for the straight woman, really? For
Yes.
the straight woman? You know, it's funny. Here at Queer News Tonight, we report, my goodness, if Lifetime breathes that they're going to do an LGBTQ film, we lead our broadcast at Queer News Tonight. As I'm listening to this, and you know, of course I love RuPaul and RuPaul's Drag Race and Michelle and the show. I love it. But that is the gayest thing I have ever heard in broadcasting. So don't tell me all the time that we spend on Lifetime having these gay boys come together in some kind of love holiday fest. And this comes along with all of these RuPaul queens and Michelle and Carson and Rue and oh, come on, this is so gay, it's beyond gay.
Camp doesn't even begin.
Yeah, right. It doesn't even begin to describe how fabulous. I cannot wait. Good, bad, indifferent, who cares? It's going to be great.
Right. It's going to be fun. And that is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ plus news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies.
Queer News Tonight has reported on coronavirus on every news broadcast since January 6, 2020. Tonight we report that as of today, more than 3,297,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have contracted COVID-19.
Queer News Tonight remembers the more than 53,000 LGBTQ plus Americans that have died from coronavirus.
But the news is improving because as of today, more than 425 million vaccination doses have been administered in the U.S.
And that is our pandemic news for tonight. Next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership. Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious live broadcast in the world as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Howard Grossman. I'm the medical director for Midway Specialty Care in Wilton Manors, and I'm the medical advisor for Queer News Tonight. And Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Before we move on, our executive producer at Queer News Tonight has asked me to remind you that the words that came out of Gregg Shapiro's mouth in his vicious attack of RuPaul are his own personal... Oh, well, whatever. All right, we're going to finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment that we call LGBTQ plus Flash News. But your card's still suspended, dude. In LGBTQ plus Flash News, this is an interesting story. Westboro Baptist Church, you remember them? Their home state will welcome the first ever statewide LGBTQ plus Pride. Topeka, the state capital of Kansas, was once best known as the home of disbarred attorney Fred Phelps and his hateful, homophobic Westboro Baptist Church. Phelps passed away in 2014, as has much of the anti-LGBTQ plus hatred his group promoted through their tasteless protest. Now, Topeka is making plans for its first ever statewide Pride celebration to be held next year on the steps of the Capitol building. Combined with its drag shows. Fred from the grave, are you listening? The drag shows, rainbow crosswalks, and one legendary response to Phelps and his hatred in Westboro's own front yard. Visitors to the new Topeka might just wonder if their, well, not in Kansas anymore. Amazing. One of my best friends was one of the most famous names killed at Pulse, and Westboro, in the funeral that I coordinated, threatened their protest at his funeral. Never forgiven.
Yeah, I personally was verbally attacked by the Westboro Baptist Church folks in JFK Airport many, many, many years ago. So I say, party on their front lawn.
And by the way, that's not a big deal because I protested you just last week.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Fred Phelps's Kansas anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Hot damn and hallelujah, praise Jesus!
That's right.
Congratulations, your time has come. You have arrived.
That's right.
LGBTQ plus flash news. NGO claims Taliban has a kill list of LGBTQ plus people. Last week, the Taliban announced that they would not recognize LGBTQ plus rights after their return to power in August. Now, the international LGBTQ plus organization Rainbow Railroad says the Taliban have a kill list and are identifying and targeting queer people. On Friday, Reuters reported a Taliban spokesperson said the organization would not be considering LGBTQ plus rights in their framework of human rights. The spokesperson was telling the news service that international communities should unfreeze the government's cash that was frozen when the previous government was ousted. The spokesperson said human rights would be observed in Afghanistan, but within the group's interpretation of Islamic law, which would not include LGBTQ plus rights. Rainbow Railroad Executive Director Kemal Powell told France 24, quote, "We now know for sure that the Taliban has a kill list circulating identifying LGBTQI plus persons." This is just disgusting, and more international LGBTQ plus hatred. It's very troubling and concerning.
I'm speechless. I'm sorry.
I think they're just positioning for Westboro Baptist Church to come visit.
I can't even connect with this. So it's awful.
Here's perhaps a way to. In 1861, hundreds upon hundreds of principally white people created an underground railroad to sneak slaves out of the South into the North. Today, we have an underground railroad, but the colors have changed. It is now rainbow. And the Rainbow Underground is something that you should reach out to, because literally your support of them literally saves lives. And I hope you will.
Thank you.
LGBTQ plus flash news. Gay homecoming queen claps back at hateful and upset adults. Oh no, the adults are upset. When Queer News Tonight reported on Zachary Wilmore's win of homecoming queen in his home of Columbia, Missouri, we thought it was great. His victory was celebrated by the media, his fellow students, and LGBTQ people. But the usual suspects quickly started insulting the teen. But Wilmore, who has over 1 million followers on TikTok, wasn't willing to take the abuse and shot back with a video that spelled it out plainly for his haters, very specifically calling out a profile called @Florida Republican. Watch this.
Fair and square, because homecoming is quite literally a popularity contest. A lot of your guys' main points in the video of me winning was that I was stealing some little girl's dream, quote unquote. It was some little boy's dream too, and that little boy was me. You guys are hiding your hatred and homophobia in a thick layer of fake empathy. I'm still friends with all the candidates who I ran for homecoming royalty, which, for the record, there are boys and girls both running. There could only be one winner. It could have been a straight girl. It could have been a straight guy. It happened to be me, which is fine. The problem is you guys commenting hate under my video and your inability to let things change. People were happy for me. You guys weren't because of your fixed mindset. Now that that's settled, let's move on, okay? To why I decided to be called a queen instead of a king when they announced me for homecoming royalty. Quite honestly, it was an Instagram poll. I was like, should I be called a queen or a king? And everyone was like, queen would look so much prettier on the sash. I was like, you guys are so right. So that's what I did. Why did I decide to wear a dress? I felt pretty in a dress. Gold is my color. We love it. Anyways, thank you guys for all the support under that video and the support for me in general. I really do appreciate it. And for all the haters on my page, thank you guys so much for boosting my video. Because of you guguys, I have an interview with NBC. We love, love, love it. I'll see you guys on TV. Kiss, kiss. I love you guys so much.
That is fantastic. The only thing I'm going to say is I think he needs to sit down with my boo, Aaron, and have him work on those lashes.
Yeah. Lashes or not, what a cutie pie. I want to squeeze him. I love him.
Child, first, I love gold is my color. For Halloween, red was my color. And here's exactly why I love Gen Zers or millennials. So many of our stories tonight, we fret. Us in our 50s and 60s fret. Teenagers go, screw you, dudes and dudettes.
Right.
This is what I'm going to do, and never looks back. I love the future of America. And by the way, Tucker Carlson, watch this video, because it's the future you can't stop.
Yeah, more power to him. I mean, congratulations. You're a beautiful homecoming queen. And who the F cares what anybody else thinks? You won.
Well, he did, because he goes, thank you. You helped me even more.
Well, that's
Could you
true,
bitch
yeah.
some more, please? Because I want to get on ABC also.
Yeah, there you have it.
I'm surprised that Florida Republican found the time to tweet something negative in between cruising tea rooms and forest preserves.
Well, that is today's news for the LGBT.
Cindy is verklempt.
Well, I know. Okay. Whew, pull yourself together, Cindy. That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you are a member of. Tonight's stories are about community that deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
Gold is my color. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these kind of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. And that is the passion of the Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Cindy Brown, Gregg Shapiro, Marisol Marrero, and Dr. Tai Houser. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus